Hi, I'm Adam Gibbs with Sport Finex. I'm coming to you from my office here in Decatur, Alabama today, and I got a couple of things I was wanting to address that have been spilt out over the internet and maybe some talk amongst some guys over the past couple of days. Something that really got to me, said I was going to break it down for you. There's been a talk out there about where we have some chumps, which I'll show you here in just a second. These guys are former champs versus our money guys. They say some people have, it's really more of two gyms that don't like each other, and one gym is saying that, that we maybe let some of our guys fight some easier guys, whatever. But we don't protect any of our money guys. All of our guys are actually money guys because they're all put on a ticket sales commission, and they all have an equal playing field to sell as many tickets as they can. Some guys participate and choose to make more money than others, and some guys don't. But we don't protect our money guys, and we do not put easy fights for certain guys. That's bullshit. I mean, we don't fix fights for easy guys, and I want to break it down for you here in just a second. Our matchmaking process at Sport Finex is probably more in depth than any other company that's operating in or around us. We have probably 100 applications for guys that come in, or girls, to fight on the Sport Finex card. Everybody is, the applications are looked at. We take into consideration like their previous fight record, YouTube videos, a lot of different things like that, and we're putting them up. It's not something where we just sling one guy with another guy just because they weigh the same. And I can show you that here in just a second. The two of the guys that they're probably referring to would be that we've saw out there is that Matt Ward and Stephen Wilhite. Both of these guys are guys that's fought for us before. Matt Ward is a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the fight that he was supposed to had was put together probably about 6 weeks before the fight was here, before Sport Finex came to Huntsville. So the fight was already put together, but due to a contract issue where Riley Matheson, which was the first opponent, we had to change that out because there was another company that he was in a contract with that had to back their date up, and we released him to do that. Matt Ward was then matched up with Matt Polino. Matt Polino is not a chump by any means. This guy, he's a former, if I'm not mistaken, state champion wrestler. He wrestled in college. He's a two-time Greco All-American. So if he's a chump, he's the best damn chump I've ever seen, because this guy right here has a resume that goes on and on. He did come in overweight at the fight, and his blood work wasn't completed. That fight was scratched. But there was nothing that we could do that from the company side, that'll break that fight down there for you. Also, one of the things to mention on this right here is Matt Ward. Everybody that we've ever asked him to fight, he'll take it. He's never had a problem taking any fight. This fight here, Matheson was more of a striker, and Polino was more of a wrestler, and he has extensive wrestling background. Matt Ward, when we called him and told him that's who we were going to match him up with, he was fine with it. He never gave us any kind of problem at all with it, which is always good for the matchmaking on our side. The other fight that that there's been some talk about is Stephen Wilhite. Stephen Wilhite was supposed to fight Luke Nealon, which is a guy from X3 Sports. He come from his record is about 50-50. That fight right there, we had to pull that opponent because he had some issues that we can't disclose, but the Luke Nealon fight was changed about 2.5 weeks out, and Stephen Wilhite was rematched up with a guy out of Tennessee, out of Ron Daly's camp, SSF, which is Jonathan Clemens. Jonathan Clemens is a guy that had a record of like 25 wins and 5 losses, so I mean he's got a better record than probably anybody in the state of Alabama as far as that goes when we went to looking for somebody. And let me tell you something too. These two guys here are guys that we can't even find an opponent for from Alabama. We have to go somewhere else to get that, and we operate in other markets, so it's not a big deal for us to do that. But these two guys right here are not always the easiest to match up. And I can guarantee you that these two guys right here will fight anybody from Alabama. They don't have a problem fighting anybody from Alabama. So if your gym can produce a guy in the 185 or 170 division or the 155-pound division, then we can show you the difference between the money guy and the chump part of it. So that will be fine with us. These guys right here, let me tell you just a little bit more about these two guys here. Matt Ward, he's a guy that we used these guys a year ago. Back in January was a year ago. They fought in Tennessee for us. Matt Ward was 1-0 or 2. He was 1-0 at the time, and He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt. We tried to find him an opponent. We couldn't find anybody to fight him. The ISKA made some special, they were a little bit more lenient as to us when we were trying to get him matched up. He fought a guy that was a former Tennessee ISKA champion. Now, this guy was, he had beat a lot of guys he had beat a guy that had beat a lot of guys from Alabama. Kyle Bipolar Kohler had beat Wesley Sullivan, which had beat, I guess, Kevin Primos, Ray Eccles, a lot of guys from here. So the guy that Ward beat and made look bad had beat the guy that beat everybody from Alabama. So that goes to show you that he wasn't fighting a chump there as well. Stephen Wilhite, his opponent pretty much backed out of fighting Stephen the night of the fight, and Stephen stepped up and fought a guy that was 15 pounds heavier than he was, had a better record than he did, and he just beat the shit out of him. So I mean, these two guys right here, they'll fight anybody, and they're some of the guys that we look to use every time if we could get them, due to the fact that they do have a large fan base. Their training is very extensive. You can go to the gym pretty much any night of the week and find these guys. I don't have any favorites, but I can tell you from a company standpoint, we do appreciate guys that get out and sell the tickets, that train hard, that come to the press conference, their own weight, that give you basically no problem. So these guys, are they easy to deal with? Sure. Are they our favorites? We like them, and it's just like we like everybody, but we don't have a favorite as far as that goes. But once again, I'm Adam Gibbs of Sport Fight X. I'm breaking down the remarks out there about the chumps versus our money guys. I'm telling you again, that's bullshit. If anybody has anything that they would like to contact us about, feel free to do so. I'm sure everybody knows how to get a hold of us. We have a couple of fights that are coming up here in the near future. We're going to be doing some smaller venues to compete with some of these companies out here that want to go head-to-head with us. We will be doing our big show, which will probably turn into an all-pro organization in the future. So we look forward to working with you guys. Again, I'm Adam Gibbs of Sport Fight X. You can visit us at www.sportfightx.com.